Tyler Taylor's heart raced as he crash-landed on Balaxis, knowing an alien girl would soon give him pleasure for saving her life. His ship's twisted wreckage smoked behind him as he stumbled onto the harsh, rocky terrain. Sweat beaded on his brow, the planet's twin suns beating down mercilessly. The human space explorer scanned his surroundings, cataloging potential threats and resources. Jagged mountains loomed in the distance, their peaks shrouded in swirling purple clouds. Vegetation was sparse. Only hardy, thorny shrubs dotted the barren landscape. A piercing scream shattered the eerie silence. Tyler's head snapped toward the sound, his muscles tensing. Through the hazy air, he spotted a group of bulky, blue-skinned aliens pursuing a smaller figure. The chase was heading straight for him. As they drew closer, Tyler could make out more details. The pursuers were male, their bodies covered in bony protrusions. The figure they chased was female, more slender and graceful in form. Her terror was palpable as she fled. Tyler's mind raced. He was injured, alone on a hostile alien world. Every instinct screamed at him to hide, to focus on his own survival. But he couldn't stand by and watch this attack unfold. In a split-second decision, Tyler sprinted toward the aliens. He positioned himself between the female and her pursuers, dropping into a fighting stance. The male Bolians skidded to a halt, clearly surprised by the human's sudden appearance. Tyler didn't wait for them to recover. He launched into action, his combat training taking over. Though outnumbered, his superior strength and agility gave him an edge. Fists flew and bodies crashed to the ground as Tyler fought with desperate intensity. When it was over, Tyler stood panting over the unconscious forms of the Bolian males. Pain lanced through his body. He'd taken some hard hits, but the female was safe. She approached cautiously, her large, luminous eyes fixed on Tyler. "Thank you," she said in halting English. "I am Craxon. You saved me." Tyler nodded, wincing as he probed a tender spot on his ribs. "I'm Tyler. Are you all right? What was that about?" Craxon's face darkened. "Arranged mating ritual. I refused. In our society, females have little choice." A distant roar echoed across the landscape. Craxon grabbed Tyler's arm. "More will come. We must hide." They fled to a nearby cave system, the cool darkness a relief after the punishing heat outside. As they caught their breath, Craxon explained more about Bolian society, their advanced technology, their strict hierarchy, their disdain for other species. "Your ship," Craxon said, eyeing Tyler. "I saw it fall. You need repairs?" Tyler nodded. "Without them, I'm stranded here. Bolian City has technology you need. I can guide you, but it's dangerous. Humans are not welcome." Tyler weighed his options. It was a risk, but also his best chance of getting home. And after what he'd seen, he couldn't leave Craxon to face punishment for fleeing the mating ritual. "All right," he said, "we'll go together, but we'll need a plan." As they began plotting their infiltration of the Bolian city, Tyler realized the magnitude of what he'd done. In saving Craxon, he may have sparked a conflict between humans and Bolians. But looking at the gratitude in Craxon's eyes, he knew he'd made the right choice. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. A human and a Bolian, united against the oppressive patriarchy of her world. It was the beginning of an unlikely alliance, one that would test them both in ways they could not yet imagine. Tyler and Craxon emerged from the cave, blinking in the harsh light of Balaxis's twin suns. The barren landscape stretched before them, a tapestry of rust-colored rocks and sparse vegetation. Tyler's muscles ached from his earlier fight, but he pushed the pain aside, focusing on the journey ahead. "We need to reach the city," Craxon said, pointing towards a distant shimmer on the horizon. "It's a 3-day trek across difficult terrain." As they set out, Tyler's curiosity got the better of him. "Tell me more about your people, Craxon. How do you survive in such a harsh environment?" Craxon's luminous eyes sparkled with pride. "We Bolians have evolved to thrive here. Our bodies can absorb and store energy from our surroundings." To demonstrate, she placed her hand on a nearby rock. Tyler watched in amazement as a faint blue glow pulsed beneath her skin, traveling up her arm. "That's incredible," Tyler breathed. "What do you use it for?" "Everything," Craxon replied. "It powers our cities, our technology. It's the foundation of our society. As they traversed the unforgiving landscape, Craxon shared more about Bolian culture. Tyler listened intently, filing away information that might prove useful. The harsh realities of their patriarchal system made him increasingly uneasy. On the second day of their journey, they crested a hill to find a group of Bolian males camped in the valley below. Tyler tensed, ready for a fight, but Craxon held up a hand. "Wait," she whispered. "They're outcasts. See how they lack the bone protrusions of city dwellers?" The group had already spotted them. A tall, scarred Bolian approached, his posture wary but not overtly hostile. "I am Zarthak," he announced. "What brings a human and a city female to our camp?" Tyler stepped forward, keeping his voice level. "I'm Tyler. My ship crashed, and Craxon is helping me reach the city for repairs." Zarthak's eyes narrowed. "And why would she do that? City dwellers despise outsiders." "Because he saved me," Craxon interjected, "from a forced mating ritual." A murmur ran through the group of outcasts. Zarthak studied Tyler with newfound interest. "Perhaps we have more in common than I thought," he said slowly. "We too reject the oppressive ways of the city. In fact, we're part of a growing resistance movement." Tyler and Craxon exchanged glances. This could change everything. "We're trying to infiltrate the city," Tyler explained. "Any information you have would be invaluable." Zarthak nodded. "We'll help you, but in return we ask that you consider supporting our cause." With their group now expanded, they faced the final leg of the journey. The terrain grew increasingly treacherous, culminating in a vast lava field that blocked their path. "How are we supposed to cross that?" Tyler asked, wiping sweat from his brow. Zarthak smiled. "Watch and learn, human." The Bolians spread out along the edge of the lava field. In unison, they began to absorb energy from the molten rock. The air hummed with power as they channeled it into the ground before them, cooling and solidifying a path across the lava. Tyler watched in awe as a bridge of black basalt formed beneath their feet. "Incredible," he murmured. They crossed quickly, aware that their makeshift bridge wouldn't last long. On the other side, Zarthak clapped Tyler on the shoulder. "Your turn to impress us, human," he said. "How would you have crossed?" Tyler surveyed the terrain, his mind racing. "See those rock formations?" he pointed. "With some rope and ingenuity, we could have created a pulley system to transport us across." The Bolians nodded appreciatively, seeing the potential in his plan. As they neared the city, the group stumbled upon a hidden military outpost nestled in a rocky outcropping. They crouched behind a ridge, observing the guards patrolling the perimeter. "We should avoid it," Craxon whispered. "It's too risky." But Tyler's enhanced hearing picked up fragments of conversation from within. His blood ran cold as he made out the words, "human colony," and "preemptive strike." "We need to get in there," he said urgently. "They're planning an attack on a human settlement." The stakes had just gotten much higher. The group formulated a plan, playing to their strengths. Tyler would use his combat skills to neutralize the guards, while the Bolians would use their energy manipulation to bypass the security systems. The infiltration went smoothly. Inside, they discovered a treasure trove of information, detailed city maps, security protocols, and most alarmingly, prototypes of weapons designed specifically to target human physiology. "This is worse than we thought," Zarthak growled, examining the weapons. "They've been preparing for war with humans for some time." Tyler downloaded as much data as he could onto a portable device. "We need to warn the colony," he said, "but first we still need to get into the city and repair my ship." As they made their final approach to the city, hidden in the shadows of its towering walls, tensions began to rise within the group. Zarthak pulled Tyler aside. "This changes things," he said in a low voice. "With your help, we could use this information to topple the government. Imagine the good we could do, freeing our people from oppression." Tyler frowned. "I understand, but my priority has to be warning my people. Millions of lives are at stake." Craxon listened to the exchange, her expression troubled. She cared for Tyler, but she couldn't ignore the plight of her own people. The weight of divided loyalties pressed down on her. As the twin suns set, casting long shadows across the barren landscape, the group established a hidden camp on the outskirts of the city. They gathered around a makeshift map, voices low as they debated their next move. "The central power hub is our best bet for the technology you need," Craxton explained, pointing to a location on the map. "But security will be tight." "What about the communication array?" Tyler asked. "We need to send a warning to the human colony." Zarthak shook his head. "Too risky. We should focus on disabling their defenses first. Give your people a fighting chance." The discussion continued late into the night, strategies proposed and discarded. Tyler found himself at a crossroads, torn between his mission and the larger conflict he'd stumbled into. Every choice carried enormous consequences. As the others finally settled down to rest, Tyler stood at the edge of the camp, gazing at the gleaming spires of the Bolian city. Tomorrow, they would attempt the impossible. Success meant saving countless lives and potentially reshaping the future of human-Bolian relations. Failure, he pushed the thought aside. In the dark, quiet hours before dawn, Tyler ran through the plan in his mind one last time. Whatever happened next would change everything. The twin suns of Balaxus cast long shadows across the barren landscape as Tyler and his unlikely allies approached the outskirts of the Bolian city. Their carefully laid plans crumbled at the sight before them. A massive, shimmering energy barrier encapsulated the entire metropolis, its iridescent surface pulsing with power. "This changes everything," Zarthak growled, his scarred face contorting with frustration. "We can't slip in undetected now." Tyler's mind raced, analyzing their options. He watched as Craxton placed her hand on a nearby rock, absorbing energy in a now familiar blue glow. An idea sparked. "What about using your energy absorption abilities?" he suggested. "Could you weaken a section of the barrier?" Zarthak shook his head grimly. "Possible, but it would trigger every alarm in the city. We'd be swarmed by security forces before we made it 10 steps. Tyler scanned the terrain, his enhanced vision picking out details others might miss. In the distance, a plume of steam caught his attention. "There," he pointed, "a geothermal vent. What if we could use that to overload their power grid?" Craxton's luminous eyes widened. "It's risky, but it could work. We'd need to split up." They quickly divided into 2 teams. Tyler would lead one group to the geothermal vent, while Craxton and Zarthak would target a secondary power distribution node. As they finalized their plan, a shout rang out across the rocky terrain. "Intruders, halt!" A patrol of Bolian security forces had stumbled upon their position. Tyler's combat training kicked in instantly. He vaulted over a boulder, using it as cover while assessing the situation. The Bolian guards were advancing, their energy weapons charging with an ominous hum. "Zarthak, on your left!" Tyler called out, spotting a guard trying to flank them. The scarred Bolian spun, narrowly avoiding a blast of energy. Tyler seized the moment, sprinting from his cover towards a field of steaming gazers. 2 guards gave chase, falling for his trap. With precise timing, Tyler leapt over a patch of unstable ground. The pursuing Bolians weren't so lucky. The earth beneath their feet crumbled, plunging them into a pool of corrosive, superheated liquid. The battle raged on, a chaotic dance of energy blasts and hand-to-hand combat. Tyler found himself back-to-back with Zarthak, facing down 3 Bolian guards. Time seemed to slow as Tyler noticed one guard raising his weapon, aiming not at him, but at Zarthak's exposed back. Without hesitation, Tyler tackled Zarthak to the ground. The energy blast sizzled overhead, missing them by inches. In one fluid motion, Tyler rolled to his feet, closing the distance to the guard and disarming him with a series of lightning-fast strikes. As the last guard fell, an awed silence settled over the group. Zarthak clasped Tyler's shoulder, his expression a mix of gratitude and newfound respect. "You saved my life," he said simply. The other Bolian outcasts murmured among themselves, reassessing their views on humans. Tyler had proven himself not just an ally, but a formidable warrior in his own right. With the immediate threat neutralized, they pressed on with their plan. Tyler's team reached the geothermal vent, the heat shimmer distorting the air around them. Using scavenged parts from their defeated foes, they cobbled together a crude but effective energy transfer device. Meanwhile, Kraxon and Zarthak's team worked furiously at the power distribution node, rerouting critical systems and planting disruptors at key junctions. The two teams coordinated their efforts via stolen communication devices. "Ready on our end," Kraxon's voice crackled through the comm. "Initiating on your mark, Tyler." Tyler took a deep breath, acutely aware of the weight of the moment. 3, 2, 1, now. They activated their devices simultaneously. The geothermal vent roared, its energy surging into the barrier's power grid. At the same time, Kraxon and Zarthak's sabotage amplified the overload. The result was spectacular and terrifying. A section of the energy barrier flickered and sputtered, arcs of power lashing out like angry serpents. Then, with a thunderous boom that shook the ground beneath their feet, a massive hole opened in the barrier. Alarms blared throughout the city, their wailing piercing the air. "Move!" Tyler shouted, and their group sprinted towards the opening. They split up again as they entered the city. Tyler, Kraxon, and two Bolian outcasts peeled off towards the central technology hub, while Zarthak led the others to create diversions across the metropolis. Tyler's breath caught as he took in the city's interior. Towering spires of a strange, shimmering material stretched towards the sky, pulsing with the same energy he'd seen Kraxon absorb. The architecture was unlike anything he'd encountered, a blend of organic shapes and crystalline structures that seemed to defy gravity. Kraxon guided them through a maze of back alleys and service tunnels, avoiding the main streets where they'd be easily spotted. The city was in chaos, security forces rushing to respond to Zarthak's distractions. As they neared the technology hub, a group of Bolian scientists emerged from the building. Tyler's team quickly subdued them, donning their attire as a disguise. Heart pounding, Tyler followed Kraxon into the facility. Inside, they located the components needed for Tyler's ship repairs with surprising ease. But as they prepared to leave, voices drifted from a nearby room. Tyler motioned for silence, straining to listen. "The attack on the human colony is scheduled for 0600 tomorrow," a gruff voice declared. "Our new weapons will catch them completely off guard." Tyler's blood ran cold. They couldn't simply escape now. Millions of lives were at stake. "We need to warn the colony," he whispered urgently. Kraxon nodded, her face grim. The communication array in the central command center could reach them, but it's heavily guarded. Before they could debate further, an alarm blared through the facility. A mechanical voice announced, "Intruder alert! All personnel report to security checkpoints." Tyler's mind raced, calculating their options as the sound of approaching footsteps echoed down the corridor. They were trapped, surrounded by hostile forces in the heart of enemy territory. The components for his ship repairs felt like lead weights in his pack, a reminder of how close they'd come to escape. He looked at Kraxon and his Bolian allies, seeing the same mix of fear and purpose in their eyes. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Tyler's hand tightened on his weapon as he prepared for the fight of his life. The footsteps grew louder, and Tyler knew that the next few moments would determine not just their fate, but the future of human-Bolian relations and the lives of countless innocent colonists. He took a deep breath, steadying himself for what was to come. "Come!" The sound of boots echoed closer, and Tyler's muscles tensed in anticipation. Suddenly, his eyes locked onto a network of glowing conduits running along the ceiling. An idea sparked in his mind. "Kraxon," he whispered urgently, "those energy conduits, can you overload them?" Her luminous eyes widened in understanding. "Yes, but it would cause a massive power surge throughout the facility." "Perfect," Tyler grinned. He turned to the other Bolian outcasts. "All of you, focus on absorbing and redirecting energy into those conduits. We're going to short-circuit this place." As the footsteps grew louder, the Bolians sprang into action. Their hands began to glow with an intense blue light as they channeled energy into the facility's power grid. The air crackled with electricity, and Tyler's hair stood on end. With a deafening boom, the conduits exploded in a shower of sparks. Darkness engulfed them as the lights flickered and died. Alarms blared, then fell silent as backup systems failed. "Move!" Tyler hissed, grabbing Craxon's arm and guiding the group forward. They navigated the pitch-black corridors, relying on Craxon's intimate knowledge of Bolian architecture. The facility had descended into chaos, with panicked shouts and the sound of bodies colliding in the darkness. As they rounded a corner, they collided with a group of disoriented scientists. Tyler's combat instincts kicked in, but he held back as he recognized the fear in their eyes. One of the scientists, a striking female Bolian with intricate facial markings, locked eyes with Tyler. "You're human," she gasped. "Dr. Vexora," Craxon whispered in recognition. Tyler made a split-second decision. "Dr. Vexora, we need your help. Come with us if you want to live." The scientist hesitated for a moment before nodding. "Lead the way." As they pressed on towards the central command center, Tyler's enhanced hearing picked up the sound of organized movement. "Company," he warned. Moments later, a squad of elite Bolian guards rounded the corner, led by a towering figure with cybernetic implants. "Intruders!" the leader bellowed. "Surrender or be destroyed." "Commander Drazak," Craxon breathed, fear evident in her voice. Tyler's mind raced, assessing their options. The narrow corridor offered little room for maneuver, but it also limited the guards' ability to use their energy weapons effectively. "Craxon, protect the others," Tyler ordered. "I'll handle this." Before anyone could object, Tyler launched himself at the guards. His augmented reflexes allowed him to close the distance in a heartbeat. He ducked under a wild swing from the first guard, using the Bolian's momentum to throw him into his comrades. Commander Drazak roared in anger, activating his cybernetic enhancements. His fist crackled with energy as he swung at Tyler's head. The human barely managed to dodge, feeling the heat of the attack singe his hair. Tyler retaliated with a flurry of strikes, targeting the weak points in Bolian physiology that Craxon had taught him. His fist connected with precision, but Drazak's augmented body absorbed the blows. The corridor erupted into chaos as the rest of the guards joined the fray. Tyler found himself surrounded, fending off attacks from all sides. He spun, kicked, and struck with inhuman speed, his body a blur of motion. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Craxon join the fight, her hands glowing as she absorbed and redirected energy blasts. The other Bolian outcasts followed her lead, turning the guards' weapons against them. In the midst of the melee, Tyler spotted an opening. He drop-kicked a guard into Drazak, momentarily staggering the commander. Seizing the opportunity, Tyler unleashed a devastating combination of strikes, targeting the junction between Drazak's organic and cybernetic parts. The commander's eyes widened in shock as his systems began to fail. With a final, powerful uppercut, Tyler sent Drazak crashing to the ground, unconscious. The remaining guards, seeing their leader fall, hesitated. Tyler stood tall, his chest heaving with exertion. "Stand down," he commanded, his voice carrying an undeniable authority. To his surprise, the guards lowered their weapons. As the adrenaline of the fight began to fade, Tyler heard a pained gasp behind him. He turned to see Craxon clutching her side, a nasty energy burn visible through her torn clothing. "Craxon!" he exclaimed, rushing to her side. "You're hurt!" She managed a weak smile. "It's nothing. I couldn't let you have all the fun." Dr. Vexora stepped forward. "I can help. We need to find a safe place to treat her wounds." Tyler nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. "There should be maintenance tunnels nearby. We can use them to evade patrols and regroup." With Craxon leaning on Tyler for support, the group made their way to a hidden access panel. The Bolian outcasts used their energy manipulation to bypass the security, revealing a network of dimly lit tunnels. Once safely inside, Dr. Vexora began tending to Craxon's injury. As she worked, Tyler pulled her aside. "Doctor, we need information. The Bolians are planning an attack on a human colony. What do you know about this?" Vexora's face paled. "It's worse than you think. They've developed a bioweapon specifically designed to target human physiology. The plan is to incapacitate the colonists before launching a full-scale invasion." Tyler's blood ran cold. "Where is this weapon now?" "In a heavily guarded research facility on the outskirts of the city," Vexora replied. "But even if you could warn the colony, it might not be enough. The weapon is unlike anything your people have encountered. Tyler's mind raced with the implications. They couldn't just send a warning now. They had to neutralize the threat at its source. As Craxon regained her strength, Tyler gathered the group. "Change of plans," he announced. "We're splitting into 2 teams. Zarthak, you'll lead one group to the Central Command Center. Send the warning to the human colony and do whatever you can to sabotage their communication systems." Zarthak nodded grimly. "And you?" "Craxon, Dr. Vexora, and I will infiltrate the research facility and destroy the bioweapon," Tyler declared. Craxon struggled to her feet. "I'm still coming with you," she insisted. "You'll need my knowledge of Bolian technology to get past their defenses." Tyler wanted to argue, to protect her, but he knew she was right. He nodded reluctantly. As they prepared to part ways, Tyler discovered a hidden compartment in the maintenance tunnel. Inside was a cache of experimental Bolian weapons, sleek devices that hummed with energy. "These might even the odds," he said, distributing the weapons among the group. With a final exchange of determined looks, the 2 teams set out on their missions. Tyler led his group towards the outskirts of the city, their goal clear: destroy the bioweapon and prevent an interspecies war. As they emerged from the tunnel into the neon-lit streets of the Bolian metropolis, alarms blared in the distance. The city was on high alert, and patrols of armed guards rushed past their hiding spot. Tyler gripped his newly acquired Bolian weapon, its unfamiliar energy pulsing against his palm. He glanced at Craxon, her face set with grit despite her injury, and then at Dr. Vexora, whose knowledge might be the key to saving countless lives. "Let's move," Tyler whispered, leading them into the shadows of the alien city. The most dangerous part of their mission was just beginning, and the fate of 2 species hung in the balance. Balance. The fate of 2 species hung in the balance as Tyler led his team through the shadowy streets of the Bolian metropolis. They moved swiftly and silently, using the cover of darkness and the chaos of the citywide alert to their advantage. Craxon, despite her injury, kept pace, her commitment evident in every step. Dr. Vexora's eyes darted nervously, taking in the unfamiliar surroundings of the city's outskirts. As they approached the research facility, Tyler held up a hand, signaling the group to halt. Before them loomed a formidable structure, its sleek lines and shimmering force fields a testament to Bolian technological prowess. "How do we get past those defenses?" Tyler whispered, eyeing the energy barriers and patrol drones circling the perimeter. Craxon stepped forward, her hands already beginning to glow with that familiar blue energy. "Leave it to me," she said, her voice tight with concentration. Tyler watched in awe as Craxon manipulated the energy fields, creating a temporary gap in the barrier. Dr. Vexora gasped softly, clearly impressed by the display of skill. "Now!" Craxon hissed, sweat beading on her brow from the effort. They dashed through the opening, the energy field snapping shut behind them with a crackle of electricity. Inside the perimeter, Tyler's enhanced senses picked up the faint hum of additional security measures. "Dr. Vexora," he said quietly, "can you guide us through the facility's layout?" The Bolian scientist nodded, her earlier nervousness replaced by a look of perseverance. "The main laboratory complex should be 3 levels down. That's likely where they're keeping the bioweapon." As they made their way through the facility, Tyler couldn't help but marvel at the alien technology surrounding them. Sleek consoles pulsed with energy, and holographic displays flickered with data he couldn't begin to comprehend. Suddenly, a door hissed open ahead of them. Tyler tensed, ready for a fight, but instead of guards, a single Bolian emerged. Her lab coat and the intensity of her gaze marked her as someone of importance. "Dr. Zolaris," Vexora breathed, recognition and a hint of fear in her voice. The Bolian scientist's eyes widened as she took in the intruders, her gaze lingering on Tyler. "A human?" she said, her voice a mix of surprise and curiosity. "How fascinating." Tyler stepped forward, his posture non-threatening but alert. "Dr. Zolaris, we need to talk about the bioweapon you're developing." Zolaris's expression hardened. "You have no right to interfere with our research. This weapon will ensure Bolian supremacy in the sector." "At the cost of millions of innocent lives," Tyler countered. Then an idea struck him. But what if I told you I could offer you something far more valuable than theoretical data from captured specimens? Zolaris raised an eyebrow ridge, intrigued despite herself. Go on. A willing human test subject, Tyler said, gesturing to himself. Access to living human DNA freely given. Think of the advancements you could make. The Bolian scientist's eyes lit up with scientific curiosity. For a moment, the room was silent as she weighed her options. And in exchange, she asked finally. You help us neutralize the bioweapon, Tyler said firmly. Make it inert, harmless. Dr. Zolaris paced, her mind clearly racing with possibilities. The potential data, it could advance our understanding of xenobiology by decades. She stopped, fixing Tyler with an intense stare. Very well, I accept your offer. As Dr. Zolaris led them deeper into the facility, alarms suddenly blared to life. The scientist's face paled. Intruder alert, they've discovered your presence. Tyler's mind raced, assessing their options. We need to buy time. Dr. Zolaris, how quickly can you neutralize the weapon? With the right equipment and your DNA sample, perhaps 30 minutes, she replied. Then that's what we'll give you, Tyler said grimly. He turned to Craxon and Vexora. We need to set up defensive positions. Use whatever you can find. As Dr. Zolaris worked feverishly at her console, Tyler and the others transformed the laboratory into a makeshift fortress. They overturned tables for cover, sealed auxiliary doors, and positioned themselves with clear lines of fire. The sound of boots in the corridor grew louder. Tyler gripped his Bolian energy weapon, its unfamiliar weight a reminder of the strange circumstances he found himself in. With a hiss of hydraulics, the main door burst open. Commander Drazak stood framed in the entrance, his cybernetic implants gleaming menacingly. Surrender, human, he roared. You've meddled in Bolian affairs for the last time. Tyler's response was a precise shot from his energy weapon, catching Drazak in the shoulder and sending him staggering backward. The laboratory erupted into chaos as Bolian security forces poured in, exchanging fire with Tyler and his allies. Craxon was a blur of motion, her hands glowing as she absorbed and redirected energy blasts. Dr. Vexora, surprising Tyler with her bravery, used her knowledge of the lab's systems to activate containment fields, trapping groups of attackers. The air crackled with energy discharges and the acrid smell of ozone. Tyler moved with superhuman speed, his augmented reflexes allowing him to dodge blasts and return fire with deadly accuracy. But the Bolians kept coming, their superior numbers threatening to overwhelm the defenders. A stray shot struck a nearby console, sending a shower of sparks across the room. Tyler's enhanced hearing picked up the sound of a crack forming in the bioweapons containment unit. Dr. Zolaris, he shouted over the din of battle. The weapon container is compromised. The Bolian scientist looked up from her work, her eyes wide with panic. If that breaks, we'll all be exposed. Tyler made a split-second decision. Keep working, he yelled, then turned to Craxon. Cover me! With Craxon providing suppressing fire, Tyler dashed across the lab to the containment unit. The crack was spreading, wisps of an ominous gas beginning to seep out. Taking a deep breath, Tyler placed his hand over the crack, feeling the cold bite of the escaping gas on his skin. He knew the risk he was taking, but there was no other choice. As the battle raged around him, Tyler felt a strange sensation spreading up his arm. His vision blurred momentarily, then sharpened to an almost painful clarity. Every sound, every movement in the room became crystal clear. Tyler? Craxon's voice cut through his heightened awareness. Are you all right? He nodded, surprised to find that he felt better than all right. Whatever the bioweapon was doing to him, it wasn't having the expected effect. Dr. Zolaris, he called out, I think you need to see this. The Bolian scientist hurried over, her eyes widening as she scanned Tyler with a handheld device. Impossible, she muttered. Your system is actually neutralizing the compound. This changes everything. With renewed vigor, Dr. Zolaris returned to her work, using the data from Tyler's exposure to refine her neutralization formula. The minutes ticked by agonizingly slowly as the battle continued to rage. Finally, just as Tyler felt his strength beginning to wane, Dr. Zolaris shouted in triumph, It's done! The weapon is inert! But their victory was short-lived. A stray energy blast struck the containment unit, shattering it completely. The neutralized compound flooded the ventilation system, spreading throughout the facility. The Bolian attackers, unaware of the weapon's altered state, began to panic. "We've been exposed," one shouted, and chaos erupted as they fled the laboratory. Tyler seized the opportunity. "Everyone, move!" he ordered, leading the group out of the damaged lab and towards the facility's exit. As they emerged into the neon-lit streets of the Bolian city, they could see the effects of the neutralized compound spreading. Bolians everywhere were reacting with mild, non-lethal symptoms, causing widespread confusion. Tyler spotted an unattended transport vehicle. "There's our ride," he said, quickly hotwiring the alien craft. "We need to get to the central command center and rendezvous with Zarthak's team." As they sped through the city, dodging panicked crowds and abandoned vehicles, Tyler's mind raced with the implications of what they'd done. The immediate threat was neutralized, but the political fallout would be immense. The central command center loomed ahead, a gleaming spire at the heart of the Bolian capital. As they approached, they could see signs of a battle already in progress. Energy weapons flashed from the windows, and a crowd of civilians had gathered at the base of the building, their shouts of anger and confusion carrying over the sound of alarms. Tyler brought the transport to a screeching halt. "This is it," he said, looking at his companions. Craxon, her earlier injury forgotten in the heat of the moment. Dr. Vexora, her scientific curiosity warring with her loyalty to her people. And Dr. Zalaris, a new and uncertain ally. "Whatever happens next," Tyler continued, "we've changed the course of history today. Let's make sure it's for the better." With that, they stepped out of the vehicle and into the chaos surrounding the command center, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them in the heart of Bolian power. As Tyler and his companions approached the command center, the chaos intensified. Bolians scattered in all directions, some clutching at their throats or doubling over with mild symptoms from the neutralized bioweapon. Shouts of confusion and anger filled the air, punctuated by the staccato rhythm of energy, weapon fire from within the building. "We need to get inside and take control of the situation," Tyler said, his enhanced senses on high alert as he scanned for immediate threats. "Dr. Vexora, can you access the building's security systems?" The Bolian scientist nodded, her fingers already dancing across a portable device. "I believe so, but it will take time." "Time we may not have," Craxon interjected, her hands glowing with blue energy as she prepared for a potential fight. Tyler made a split-second decision. "Craxon, you're with me. We'll create a diversion. Dr. Zalaris, stay with Vexora and help her gain access. Once you're in, lock down the building and open a path for us to the central control room." Without waiting for a response, Tyler sprinted toward the command center's main entrance, Craxon close behind. As they approached, a group of armed Bolians emerged, weapons raised. "Hold your fire," Tyler shouted, raising his hands. "We're here to help." The Bolians hesitated, confused by the presence of a human. Tyler seized the moment, using his augmented speed to close the distance. In a blur of motion, he disarmed the nearest guard and used the Bolian's own weapon to stun the others. "Impressive," Craxon remarked, her tone a mix of admiration and something more. Tyler allowed himself a brief smile before refocusing on the task at hand. "Let's move." They fought their way through the building, encountering pockets of resistance from confused and panicked Bolian security forces. Tyler's combat skills, honed through years of training and enhanced by his augmentations, proved invaluable. He moved with fluid precision, disarming opponents and neutralizing threats with non-lethal efficiency. Craxon was equally formidable, her energy manipulation abilities allowing her to deflect incoming fire and incapacitate multiple foes at once. Together, they carved a path deeper into the command center. As they reached the central atrium, Tyler's communicator crackled to life. "We're in," Dr. Vexora's voice came through. "I've locked down the building and cleared a path to the control room. Take the east corridor, 3rd level." "Acknowledged," Tyler replied. "Good work." They made their way to the control room, finding it mercifully empty, save for a few technicians who surrendered without a fight. Tyler immediately moved to the central console, his fingers flying over the alien interface as he established a connection with the human colony. "This is Tyler," he broadcasted. "Balaxis is in a state of emergency. The Bolian military attempted to deploy a bioweapon against our colony, but we've neutralized the threat. We need immediate assistance to stabilize the situation and prevent further violence." As he waited for a response, Tyler turned his attention to the Bolian population. He activated the citywide communication system, his face appearing on screens throughout the capital. "Citizens of Balaxis," he began, his voice calm and measured. "I know you're frightened and confused. The symptoms you're experiencing are the result of a neutralized bioweapon. It is not lethal, and the effects will pass. We are working to perseverance this crisis peacefully." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Humans and Bolians need not be enemies. Together, we can forge a future of cooperation and mutual benefit. I ask for your patience and calm as we work to stabilize the situation." As Tyler spoke, Kraxon and Zarthak, who had arrived with a group of moderate Bolian officials, moved through the room. They spoke in hushed tones with military and government leaders, securing pledges of support and working to form a temporary coalition. Hours passed in a flurry of activity. Tyler found himself at the center of negotiations, mediating between various Bolian factions. His even-handed approach and genuine concern for both species began to win over even some of the more skeptical Bolians. As the immediate crisis stabilized, Tyler's thoughts turned to his damaged ship. He approached Dr. Vexora, who was working at a nearby console. "Doctor," he said, "I need your help. My ship was damaged during the initial attack. With your knowledge of Bolian technology, do you think we could adapt some of your systems for repairs?" Dr. Vexora's eyes lit up with scientific curiosity. "An intriguing challenge. Yes, I believe it's possible. I'll assemble a team of our best engineers." Over the next few days, Tyler worked closely with the Bolian engineers, his quick thinking and adaptability impressing them. He found creative solutions to interface human and Bolian technology, often in ways the Bolians themselves hadn't considered. Just as progress on the ship was looking promising, alarms blared throughout the command center. Tyler rushed to the main control room, where a grim-faced Kraxon awaited him. "It's Drazak," she said, pointing to a tactical display. "He's rallied the hardline factions and is launching an attack on the city." Tyler's mind raced, assessing their options. "How long until they reach us?" "Less than an hour," Kraxon replied. "Then we'd better get ready for a fight," Tyler said, his voice steel. "Zarthak, coordinate our defenses. Kraxon, I need you to organize our energy manipulators. We'll use the building's systems to create a defensive perimeter." As they prepared for the siege, Tyler received a transmission from the human colony. A diplomatic vessel was en route, responding to his earlier call for assistance. The news added urgency to their situation. "We need to end this before they arrive," Tyler muttered, his mind already formulating a plan. As the first waves of Drazak's forces hit their defenses, Tyler coordinated the defense from the control room. He directed Bolian energy manipulators to reinforce weak points and used his knowledge of human tactics to anticipate and counter Drazak's moves. The siege stretched on, hours blending together in a haze of constant alerts and strategic adjustments. Tyler's enhanced stamina allowed him to keep going, but he could see the strain on his Bolian allies. In a quiet moment between attacks, Kraxon approached him. "Tyler," she said, her voice low, I wanted to thank you. What you've done for my people, for both our peoples, it's extraordinary." Tyler met her gaze, seeing the admiration and something deeper in her eyes. "We're in this together," he replied softly. "All of us." Kraxon nodded, a slight smile on her lips. "Together," she agreed. As they stood there, a moment of connection amidst the chaos, a new idea began to form in Tyler's mind. He turned back to the tactical display, a plan taking shape. "Kraxon," he said, excitement creeping into his voice, "I think I know how we can end this siege and stop Drazak for good." He quickly outlined his plan, using Bolian energy manipulation technology to create a massive, non-lethal electromagnetic pulse that would disable Drazak's weapons and vehicles. "It's risky," Kraxon said, considering the idea. "We've never attempted anything on this scale before." But it's possible, Tyler pressed. Craxon nodded slowly. With your human ingenuity and our abilities, yes, I believe it is. Tyler grinned, feeling a surge of hope for the first time in days. Then let's get to work. We have a siege to end and a peace to secure before our diplomatic cavalry arrives. As they began preparations for their daring plan, Tyler couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment. The future of human-Bolian relations, perhaps even the balance of power in this sector of space, hung in the balance. But with Craxon at his side and their growing team of allies, he felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The next few hours would determine everything. Tyler took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. The real test was about to begin. Tyler's fingers flew across the control panel, making final adjustments to the massive electromagnetic pulse generator they had cobbled together from Bolian energy manipulation technology and human ingenuity. Craxon stood beside him, her hands glowing with blue energy as she channeled power into the device. "Ready?" Tyler asked, his voice tight with tension. Craxon nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display showing Drazak's forces closing in on their position. Now or never. Tyler took a deep breath and pressed the activation sequence. The air around them crackled with electricity as the pulse built to a crescendo. With a blinding flash and a thunderous boom, the EMP burst outward in an expanding sphere of energy. On the tactical display, they watched as Drazak's forces went dark. Vehicles ground to a halt, weapons systems flickered and died, and communication channels fell silent. "It worked," Craxon breathed, a smile breaking across her face. Tyler was already moving. "Let's not waste this opportunity. Zarthak, coordinate with our allies. I'm leading a strike team to bring in Drazak." Assembling a small team of trusted Bolians and his most capable human operatives, Tyler led the charge into the disorganized ranks of Drazak's forces. They moved swiftly through the confusion, disarming and subduing any resistance they encountered. As they approached Drazak's command vehicle, Tyler held up a hand, signaling the team to halt. He activated his tactical visor, scanning the interior of the vehicle. 3 heat signatures inside, Drazak's in the center. With a series of hand signals, Tyler coordinated their assault. In a blur of motion, they breached the vehicle. Tyler's enhanced reflexes allowed him to disarm Drazak's bodyguards before they could react. He found himself face to face with the Bolian leader, whose eyes widened in a mixture of fear and anger. "It's over, Drazak," Tyler said, his voice firm but not unkind. "Your weapons are disabled, your forces scattered. Surrender now and we can end this without further bloodshed." For a moment, Drazak's face contorted with rage. Then his shoulders slumped in defeat. "I yield," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. As they led Drazak back to the command center, Tyler's communicator crackled to life. "Tyler, this is Zarthak. The remaining hardline forces are standing down. We've secured a ceasefire." Relief washed over Tyler. The immediate crisis was over, but he knew the real work was just beginning. Over the next few days, Tyler worked tirelessly to establish a temporary governing council. He brought together moderate Bolians, including Zarthak and Dr. Vixora, carefully balancing different factions to create a representative body. In marathon negotiation sessions, they hammered out agreements on democratic reforms and a framework for peaceful relations with humans. As the situation on Bolaxis began to stabilize, Tyler received word that a human diplomatic vessel had entered orbit. He stood on the landing pad, watching as the sleek ship touched down and a delegation led by Ambassador Marcus Stern disembarked. "Ambassador Stern," Tyler greeted, extending his hand. "Welcome to Bolaxis." The ambassador, a tall man with graying hair and sharp eyes, shook Tyler's hand firmly. "Agent Tyler, I've heard impressive things about your handling of this crisis. I look forward to a full briefing." Tyler led the ambassador and his team to a conference room in the command center, where he provided a detailed account of recent events and the current political landscape. As he spoke, he could see the ambassador's expression shift from skepticism to admiration. "You've managed to turn a potential catastrophe into an opportunity for lasting peace," Stern said when Tyler finished. "Well done, Agent." With the human delegation's arrival, formal negotiations began between the diplomats and the Bolian Council. Tyler found himself in the crucial role of mediator, his unique understanding of both cultures allowing him to bridge communication gaps and smooth over misunderstandings. During a break in the talks, Dr. Zolaris approached Tyler, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "Agent Tyler, my colleagues and I have made a breakthrough. We've been studying the data from your exposure to the neutralized bioweapon, and we believe we can use this information to develop a treatment for a degenerative condition affecting many Bolians." Tyler listened intently as the scientist explained their findings. "That's incredible news, Doctor. What do you need from me?" "Additional biological samples would greatly accelerate our research," Dr. Zolaris replied. Without hesitation, Tyler agreed. "Of course, anything that can help." As the diplomatic negotiations progressed, Tyler split his time between the talks and working with Bolian engineers to complete the repairs on his ship. The process of adapting Bolian technology to his human vessel led to several innovations that sparked excitement among both human and Bolian scientists. One evening, as Tyler was reviewing schematics for a new hybrid power system, he noticed Craxon rubbing her temples, her face drawn with pain. "Craxon, are you all right?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. She tried to wave off his worry, but Tyler could see she was struggling. "It's nothing, just a headache." Tyler's eyes narrowed. "How long have you been feeling like this?" Craxon hesitated before admitting, "A few days. The symptoms come and go." Realization dawned on Tyler. "The neutralized bioweapon. You're showing signs of exposure." Without wasting a moment, Tyler contacted Dr. Vexora. Together, they began working on a treatment for Craxon, drawing on the research already being conducted by Dr. Zolaris and his team. As they worked, Tyler found himself spending more time with Craxon, their shared experience of the crisis in this new challenge bringing them closer. He admired her strength and resilience, and she in turn was moved by his unwavering commitment to helping her people. While Tyler focused on Craxon's treatment and the ongoing negotiations, a new challenge emerged. Reports began filtering in of growing unrest among a faction of isolationist Bolians. They organized protests against the human presence, spreading propaganda that claimed humans planned to colonize Balaxus and subjugate the Bolian people. Tyler recognized the threat this movement posed to the fragile peace they had worked so hard to achieve. In a meeting with Ambassador Stern and the Bolian Council, he proposed a public information campaign to counter the misinformation. "We need to showcase the benefits of human-Bolian cooperation," Tyler argued. "Let's arrange public demonstrations of our joint technological achievements. We can organize cultural exchange events, give people a chance to interact and see that we're not so different." Ambassador Stern nodded approvingly. "I agree. This kind of grassroots effort will be crucial for long-term stability." As they began to implement the public information campaign, Tyler found himself juggling multiple responsibilities. He coordinated with the diplomatic team, oversaw the final stages of his ship's repairs, worked with Dr. Vexora on Craxon's treatment, and helped organize events to promote human-Bolian cooperation. Despite the challenges, Tyler could see progress being made. The innovations born from repairing his ship were already spawning new joint research projects. Dr. Zolaris reported promising results in his medical research, and slowly but surely, public opinion was shifting in favor of the alliance. One afternoon, as Tyler stood on a balcony overlooking the Bolian capital, Craxon joined him. Her color had improved, and she moved with more energy than she had in days. "The treatment is working," she said, a smile lighting up her face. "Dr. Vexora says I should make a full recovery." Tyler felt a wave of relief wash over him. "That's wonderful news, Craxon." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the bustling city below. Bolians and humans moved together through the streets, a visible sign of the changing times. "We've come so far," Craxon mused, "but there's still so much to do." Tyler nodded, his mind already turning to the challenges that lay ahead. The isolationist movement was still a threat, and the details of the human-Bolian alliance were far from finalized. But looking at the city before him, at the future they were building together, he felt a surge of hope. "We'll face it together," he said, his voice filled with quiet willpower. "One step at a time." Time. As Tyler gazed out over the Bolian capital, his mind raced with plans for the future. The following week saw a flurry of activity as Tyler and Ambassador Stern ramped up their efforts to solidify the human-Bolian alliance. They organized a series of public demonstrations showcasing the benefits of cooperation between the two species. At one such event, held in a vast amphitheater on the outskirts of the capital, Tyler stood before a mixed crowd of humans and Bolians. Behind him, a holographic display showed the schematics of a new hybrid power system developed through their joint efforts. This technology, Tyler explained, gesturing to the rotating diagram, combines human fusion principles with Bolian energy manipulation techniques. It's twice as efficient as anything either of our species has developed independently. The crowd murmured with interest, but Tyler noticed a group of Bolians near the back, their faces set in scowls of disapproval. He made a mental note to keep an eye on them. As Tyler concluded his presentation, a deafening explosion rocked the amphitheater. Panic erupted as smoke billowed from a damaged section of the stands. Without hesitation, Tyler sprang into action. "Craxon, coordinate with Bolian security," he shouted, already sprinting toward the source of the blast. Through the chaos, he spotted 3 Bolians attempting to flee the scene, their clothing marked with telltale scorch marks. Tyler's enhanced reflexes kicked in as he vaulted over debris and terrified spectators. He closed the distance rapidly, tackling the nearest suspect to the ground. The other 2 turned, brandishing makeshift weapons. "Stand down," Tyler commanded, his voice cutting through the din. He dodged a swing from a crude bludgeon, using the attacker's momentum to throw him off balance. A swift strike to the solar plexus left the assailant gasping for air. The third suspect hesitated, then turned to run. Tyler was about to give chase when a beam of blue energy struck the fleeing Bolian, immobilizing him instantly. Craxon approached, her hands still glowing from the energy manipulation. "Nice shot," Tyler said, securing the other 2 suspects. Craxon nodded, but Tyler noticed her wince slightly. "Are you all right?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. "Just a headache," she replied, waving off his worry. "It's getting worse, though." Before Tyler could respond, Ambassador Stern arrived with a contingent of human and Bolian security forces. "Excellent work, Agent Tyler," Stern said, surveying the scene. This could have been a disaster. As the security teams took control of the situation, Tyler turned his attention back to Craxon. Her face was pale and she swayed slightly on her feet. "We need to get you to Dr. Vexora," Tyler insisted, supporting Craxon's weight. She didn't protest, which only increased his concern. In Dr. Vexora's medical facility, Tyler paced anxiously as the Bolian physician examined Craxon. The doctor's face was grim as she delivered her assessment. "The neutralized bioweapon is having a more severe effect than we anticipated," Dr. Vexora explained. "Craxon's unique energy manipulation abilities seem to be accelerating the compound's degradation of her cellular structure." Tyler's mind raced. "What about the data from my exposure? Can't we use that to develop a treatment?" Dr. Vexora nodded. "We're working on it, but it's a race against time. Your physiology is so different from ours that adapting the treatment is proving challenging." Over the next few days, Tyler split his time between overseeing the final repairs on his ship and sitting by Craxon's bedside. He watched helplessly as she grew weaker, her once vibrant skin taking on a sickly pallor. During one of his visits, Craxon reached out and grasped his hand weakly. "Tyler," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "promise me you'll see this through. The Alliance, it's bigger than any of us." Tyler squeezed her hand gently. "I promise," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "But you're going to be there to see it happen. I'm not giving up on you." As Craxon's condition worsened, Tyler threw himself into his work with renewed vigor. The ship repairs were nearing completion, incorporating innovative hybrid technologies born from the collaboration between human and Bolian engineers. Tyler stood in the engine room, marveling at the sleek new power core that hummed with a combination of human and Bolian energy signatures. Engineer Zarthak approached, a look of pride on his face. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Zarthak said, running a hand along the smooth casing of the core. "This ship is now more advanced than anything in either of our fleets." Tyler nodded, his mind already racing with the possibilities this technology represented. "It's more than just a ship now," he mused. It's a symbol of what we can achieve together. As Tyler exited the ship, he was met by Ambassador Stern. The diplomat's face was a mix of excitement and concern. We've had a breakthrough in the negotiations, Stern explained as they walked. The Bolian Council is proposing a formal alliance, but there's a complication. Tyler listened intently as Stern outlined the situation. The proposed alliance included mutual defense agreements, shared scientific research initiatives, and open trade routes. It was everything they had hoped for and more. So what's the problem? Tyler asked. Stern's expression darkened. The isolationist faction. They're gaining traction, led by a Bolian named Xerok. They're spreading propaganda, claiming we're planning to colonize Balaxis and exploit its resources. Tyler's mind raced, considering options. Suddenly, an idea struck him. What if we could prove our intentions are peaceful? Show that we're interested in exploration, not conquest. Stern raised an eyebrow. What did you have in mind? Tyler outlined his plan for a joint human-Bolian space mission to a nearby uninhabited planet. As he spoke, he could see Stern's expression shift from skepticism to interest. It's risky, Stern admitted when Tyler finished, but it could be exactly what we need to turn public opinion in our favor. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity as Tyler coordinated the mission preparations. He selected a team of skilled human operatives and worked with the Bolian Council to choose their representatives. During a planning session, Tyler was surprised to see Craxon enter the room. She looked pale but determined. I want to join the mission, she announced, her voice stronger than it had been in days. Tyler hesitated. Craxon, are you sure? Your health... She cut him off with a wave of her hand. Dr. Vexora's latest treatment is showing promise. I need to do this, Tyler. For my people, and for the future we're trying to build. As Tyler looked into her eyes, he saw the same unwavering willpower that had drawn him to her from the beginning. He nodded, unable to deny her this opportunity. As the launch date approached, tensions in the capital rose. Xerok's isolationist faction staged increasingly large protests, their chants echoing through the streets. Tyler increased security around the launch site, keenly aware of the rumors of a planned attack. The night before the launch, Tyler stood on the observation deck of the launch facility, gazing up at the stars. He felt a presence beside him and turned to see Craxon, her face illuminated by the soft glow of Balaxis's moons. Big day tomorrow? She said softly. Tyler nodded, suddenly acutely aware of the weight of the moment. Craxon, She placed a finger on his lips, silencing him. I know, Tyler. I feel it too. As they stood there, the future stretching out before them like the vast expanse of space, Tyler realized he was at a crossroads. His duty to Earth, his growing feelings for Craxon, and his commitment to the Alliance all pulled him in different directions. Before he could voice his thoughts, an alarm blared through the facility. Tyler's hand instinctively went to his weapon as he locked eyes with Craxon. Looks like Xerok decided to make his move early, he said, already moving towards the source of the disturbance. As they raced through the corridors, Tyler's mind was focused on the immediate threat, but beneath it all, he knew that the events of the next few hours would shape not just his future, but the future of human-Bolian relations for generations to come. Come! Tyler and Craxon sprinted down the corridor, their footsteps echoing off the metallic walls. As they rounded a corner, they encountered a group of Bolian security officers engaged in a firefight with masked assailants. Take cover! Tyler shouted, pulling Craxon behind a nearby console. He assessed the situation quickly, noting the positions of both friendlies and hostiles. Craxon, can you use your energy manipulation to disrupt their weapons? Craxon nodded, her face set with perseverance. She raised her hand, focusing her power. A wave of blue energy pulsed outward, causing the attackers' weapons to sputter and fail. Tyler seized the opportunity, vaulting over the console and charging towards the nearest assailant. His enhanced reflexes allowed him to dodge a clumsy punch, countering with a swift strike to the attacker's solar plexus. The Bolian doubled over, gasping for air. Tyler disarmed him swiftly, using the captured weapon to stun two more hostiles in quick succession. As the immediate threat was neutralized, Tyler tapped his communicator. Ambassador Stern, we have a situation. Zarok's faction is launching coordinated attacks across the city. Stern's voice crackled through the device, tense but controlled. Understood, Agent Tyler. I'm coordinating with Bolian authorities now. We need to secure the spaceport at all costs. Tyler turned to the Bolian security officers. We need to move. The spaceport is likely their primary target. As they made their way through the city, reports flooded in of attacks on key infrastructure points. Power stations, communication hubs, and government buildings were all under siege. Tyler's mind raced, analyzing patterns and predicting the isolationists' next moves. At the spaceport, chaos reigned. Smoke billowed from a damaged hangar, and the sounds of energy weapons and shouted orders filled the air. Tyler quickly organized the defenders, utilizing both human and Bolian technologies to create an effective defense perimeter. Craxon, take a team and secure the launch control center, Tyler instructed. I'll lead the defense of the spacecraft itself. As Craxon moved out, Tyler turned his attention to the approaching wave of attackers. He directed suppressing fire, using the spaceport's architecture to funnel the hostiles into choke points. The hybrid defense systems, born from the collaboration between human and Bolian engineers, proved highly effective against the isolationist weaponry. In the midst of the battle, Tyler spotted a familiar figure leading the assault. Zarok, the isolationist leader, was advancing with a group of elite fighters. Their eyes met across the battlefield, and Tyler knew this confrontation was inevitable. He tapped his communicator. Craxon, status report. Launch control is secure, she replied, her voice strained. But we're detecting attempts to hack the system. We need more time. Understood. Hold your position. I'm going to take care of our uninvited guest. Tyler moved swiftly through the defensive lines, issuing orders as he went. He emerged from cover, facing Zarok directly. The Bolian leader sneered, his face contorted with hatred. You've corrupted our world, human, Zarok spat. We'll never submit to your kind. Tyler's voice was calm, but his body tensed for action. This isn't about submission, Zarok. It's about cooperation, about building a better future together. Zarok lunged forward, surprisingly agile for his build. Tyler sidestepped, deflecting a powerful blow. The two engaged in a furious hand-to-hand combat, their movements a blur of strikes, blocks, and counterattacks. Tyler's superior training gave him an edge, but Zarok fought with the desperation of a cornered animal. The Bolian leader managed to land a solid hit, sending Tyler stumbling backward. As Zarok pressed his advantage, Tyler used the momentum against him, executing a perfect throw that sent Zarok crashing to the ground. Before Zarok could recover, Tyler was on him, securing the isolationist leader with restraints. It's over, Zarok, Tyler said, his breathing heavy but controlled. With their leader captured, the remaining attackers quickly surrendered. As Bolian security forces took control of the situation, Tyler surveyed the damage. The spaceport had suffered significant harm, with several launch facilities rendered inoperable. Ambassador Stern approached, his face grim. Good work, Agent Tyler, but I'm afraid the mission may have to be postponed. The damage to the launch facilities is extensive. Tyler shook his head. No, we can't afford to delay. The Alliance is hanging by a thread as it is. He looked at the damaged structures, his mind already formulating a plan. We can modify the launch protocols, use alternative systems. It won't be easy, but it's possible. Over the next several hours, Tyler worked tirelessly with human and Bolian engineers to repair what they could and adapt their procedures to the new circumstances. The hybrid technologies they had developed proved invaluable, allowing for quick workarounds and innovative solutions. As they raced against time, Dr. Vexora made a breakthrough in her lab. Using data from Tyler's unique physiological response to the neutralized bioweapon, she developed a cure effective for both humans and Bolians. The news spread quickly, becoming a powerful symbol of the benefits of interspecies cooperation. Craxon, fully recovered thanks to the new treatment, joined Tyler in the final mission preparations. Together, they integrated Bolian energy manipulation technology into the spacecraft's systems, creating a truly hybrid vessel that showcased the best of both species' capabilities. As launch day approached, Ambassador Stern proposed expanding the mission to include the establishment of a joint human-Bolian research outpost on the target planet. The idea gained widespread support, representing a concrete commitment to long-term cooperation. Tyler found himself at a crossroads. The success of the mission and the new outpost would require a long-term commitment. He had to decide whether to return to Earth as planned or volunteer for an extended stay, continuing his work in fostering human-Bolian relations and exploring his deepening connection with Kraxon. On the day of the launch, Tyler stood before the assembled crew of the newly christened spacecraft Unity. Humans and Bolians stood side by side, ready to make history as the first joint interspecies exploration team. As he prepared to board, Tyler's gaze met Kraxon's, and a moment of understanding passed between them. The countdown began, tension mounting with each passing second. Tyler took his seat, acutely aware of the weight of the moment. The success of this mission would not only determine the future of human-Bolian relations, but also set a precedent for interspecies cooperation across the galaxy. Just as the launch sequence initiated, a warning blared through the command center. Long-range sensors had detected an unidentified vessel entering the Balaxian system. Tyler's mind raced with the implications of this new development as the engines of Unity roared to life, propelling them towards an uncertain future filled with both promise and peril. Peril and opportunity. As Unity surged upward, breaking free of Balaxis's atmosphere, Tyler's eyes darted between the ship's readouts and the looming presence of the unidentified vessel on their long-range scanners. "Status report," he barked, fingers flying over the control panel. "All systems nominal," reported the human flight engineer. "We're maintaining our ascent trajectory." Kraxon's voice chimed in from her station. "Energy manipulation systems are stable and ready for defensive deployment if necessary." Tyler nodded, his mind racing through potential scenarios. As they breached the upper atmosphere and entered low orbit, he made a decision. "We proceed with the mission," he announced firmly, "but I want all defensive systems on standby. Let's see what our visitor wants." As if on cue, a signal flashed on the communications panel. "We're being hailed," announced the Bolian communications officer, her antenna twitching with nervous energy. Tyler took a deep breath. "Put them through." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the bridge of the unknown ship. Tyler's eyes widened as he took in the familiar design of a human vessel, but one that looked oddly outdated. At the center of the screen stood a woman in a uniform he didn't recognize, her graying hair pulled back in a tight bun. "This is Captain Elena Vega of the HSS Horizon," she said, her voice carrying the weight of authority. "We're a bit lost. Can someone tell me what year it is?" A stunned silence fell over Unity's bridge. Tyler stepped forward, his knees going weak. "Captain Vega, this is Agent Tyler of the Human-Bolian Joint Mission Unity. The year is 2157, the HSS Horizon. It's been missing for decades." Captain Vega's face paled. "Decades? That's impossible. We entered the anomaly just last month." Over the next hour, as Unity continued its journey to the target planet, Tyler and Vega exchanged information. The Horizon, it turned out, had been trapped in a temporal anomaly, experiencing only a short time while decades passed in the outside world. As Vega absorbed the dramatic changes, humanity's first contact with the Bolians, the Alliance, and the current mission, her initial shock gave way to drive. "Agent Tyler," she said, her voice firm, "the Horizon may be outdated by your standards, but she's still a capable ship. We'd like to join your mission, if you'll have us." Tyler glanced at Kraxon, who nodded her approval. "We'd be honored, Captain Vega. Let's dock and integrate our systems. I think we've all got a lot to learn from each other." The next few hours were a flurry of activity as the Horizon docked with Unity. Engineers from both ships worked feverishly to integrate their systems, creating a hybrid vessel that combined the best of current human-Bolian technology with the Horizon's unique systems. As the work continued, Tyler found himself on Unity's observation deck, staring out at the stars. He heard soft footsteps behind him and turned to see Kraxon approaching. "Quite a day," she said, moving to stand beside him. Tyler nodded, feeling the weight of recent events settling on his shoulders. "It's like the universe keeps throwing us curveballs, First contact, the alliance, and now this. Craxon's hand found his, her touch sending a familiar warmth through him. And yet, here we are, still moving forward. Tyler turned to face her, struck by the play of starlight across her features. In that moment, he made another decision. Craxon, I want to stay. On the outpost, I mean. Long term. Her eyes widened. But your mission, your duties, back on Earth. My place is here, Tyler said firmly. Working with you, with all of us, to build something new, something important. Craxon's face broke into a radiant smile, and she pulled Tyler into a tight embrace. As they stood there, the vastness of space stretched out before them, full of possibility. Days later, the newly expanded and upgraded Unity entered orbit around their target planet. As the ship began its descent, Tyler stood at the helm, Craxon at his side, and Captain Vega nearby. Through the view screen, they watched as the planet's surface came into focus, a world of sweeping plains, dense forests, and glittering oceans. Welcome to Concordia, Tyler announced, the name they'd chosen reflecting their hopes for this new world. The first weeks on Concordia were a whirlwind of activity. Tyler led teams of human and Bolian scientists and engineers, working tirelessly to establish the research outpost. They faced numerous challenges, from unpredictable weather patterns to encounters with the planet's exotic and sometimes dangerous wildlife. One particularly memorable incident occurred during the construction of the main research facility. A sudden storm threatened to destroy their progress, with winds strong enough to tear apart the partially built structures. Tyler watched in awe as human engineers and Bolian energy manipulators worked in perfect sync, using force fields and reinforced materials to weather the tempest. As the months passed, the outpost grew and thrived. Labs hummed with activity as scientists made breakthrough after breakthrough, leveraging the combined knowledge and skills of two species. Tyler found himself at the heart of it all, mediating disputes, fostering collaboration, and pushing the boundaries of what they could achieve together. Throughout it all, his relationship with Craxon deepened. They spent countless evenings on a hill overlooking the outpost, watching Concordia's twin suns set in a blaze of color. It was during one such sunset, nearly a year after their arrival, that Tyler dropped to one knee and asked Craxon to marry him. Their wedding was a joyous affair that united the entire outpost. Human and Bolian traditions blended seamlessly, creating a ceremony that symbolized the very essence of their mission. As Tyler and Craxon exchanged vows, he felt a profound sense of rightness, as if every step of his journey had led him to this moment. As the first year on Concordia drew to a close, news arrived from Balaxis and Earth. The success of their mission had sparked a new era of interspecies cooperation. Joint ventures were being planned across various fields, from scientific research to cultural exchanges. The diplomatic channels between humans and Bolians had never been more open. On the anniversary of their landing, Tyler stood on the now familiar hilltop, Craxon at his side. Below them, the outpost bustled with activity, a testament to what they had built together. New arrivals were setting up temporary housing, eager to join the groundbreaking work being done on Concordia. It's amazing, isn't it? Craxon said softly, her hand intertwined with Tyler's. To think all of this started with a crashed ship and a chance encounter. Tyler nodded, his throat tight with emotion. We've come so far, but I feel like we're just getting started. As Concordia's suns dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant hues of orange and purple, Tyler pulled Craxon close. Their silhouettes merged, a living symbol of unity against the backdrop of a new world. Together, they looked out over the fruits of their labor and the promise of the future they were building. A future of understanding, cooperation, and love that stretched across the stars.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.